Chapter 039 The Spirit Channeling Realm. The squad of torch-wielding Yixias had clearly spotted Fang Han and Fang Xianxia. Every one of them let out sharp, shrill howls, threw away their torches, and charged forward with steel tridents in hand. They bounded forward in great leaps, just like giant grasshoppers, closing in rapidly as if they had spotted the most delicious prey. Each of these Yixias boasted incredible jumping power. A single leap could carry them as high as 3 to 4 men tall, and as far as 30 to 40 paces, enough to clear an ordinary house. Though they could not glide through the air like flying Yixias, they still displayed fiendish, supernatural abilities. Even ordinary masters of the divine strength realm could not jump as high or as far as these Yixias. 10, 11, 12 Yixias in total. All are equivalent to divine courage realm masters. Thankfully, their martial arts are not as refined as human divine courage masters, and there are plenty of flaws to exploit. Fang Han stood tall, held his magic sword upright, and charged forward instead of retreating, straight toward the Yixias. A key trait of underground demon folk was that every one of them had infinite strength, but their martial arts were relatively crude, lacking the refined perfection honed over thousands of years by humans. This gave skilled fighters the chance to spot flaws and slay them. Ha ha ha. We've actually run into 2 humans. And one is a woman. They must have come underground to hunt demonic beasts for profit. We'll eat the man, and take the woman back to prison to the Grand Commander. The rapidly bounding Yixias spat out these slurred words. Underground demon folk were highly intelligent, especially Yixias like these. Their intellect was only slightly inferior to humans, while flying Yixias were truly no different from humans at all. The fact that these Yixias could speak, make torches, and wield weapons like steel tridents fully proved they had long left the rank of beasts, and possessed every trait of people. Their language and writing were passed down from humans in the ancient era. Such beings were the hardest to deal with. What made them fearsome was not their strength, but their intelligence. One Yixia leaped ahead first, like a ferocious tiger, and stabbed viciously at Fang Han with his trident. Cold light glinted off the metal. The force behind the stab was enough to pierce clean through an ox and skewer it for roasting. Clang! Fang Han delivered his Kuei Star kick, smashing it hard against the trident, knocking the weapon off course instantly. Using the recoil, he sent his sword forward like wind, like fine autumn rain, a trail of afterimages flashing as the blade plunged straight into the Yixia's eye. One stab to the eye. The sword tip pierced straight into the brain. The Yixia let out a deafening, heart-rending roar, leaped backward, and crashed with a plop into an underground river. Clouds of blood bubbled to the surface, and then its corpse was washed away by the surging current and vanished without a trace. He had killed the enemy in one move, and Fang Han did not stop for a moment. His body flickered again as he dodged several steps outward. Whoosh! 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 Several steel tridents stabbed into the spot he had just stood in. If he had been half a beat slower in dodging, he would have been skewered like meat for roasting. The immense force of the tridents was enough to pierce clean through his ritual robe. Kill him. Huh. Where did the woman go? She was right behind him just now. How did she disappear? Forget the woman, kill the man first. The Yixias roared, their tridents cleaving through the air as they stabbed, each strike heavy and powerful, determined to put Fang Han to death. And Fang Xianxia, who had originally been walking behind Fang Han, had vanished without a trace. None of the Yixias knew where she had gone. Fang Han could not worry about anything else at that moment, for 11 more Yixias had surrounded him. 11 Yixias were far more ferocious than 11 abyss blood wolves. Furthermore, these Yixias had a thick layer of scales covering their skin. When his magic sword struck, it met great resistance and easily got stuck. To kill them, he had to stab through their eyes. If Fang Han could use his flying sword right now, and activate his blood-cotton demon robe, defeating these Yixias would be effortless. But Fang Xianxia had clearly brought him here to observe his cultivation. How could he expose his secrets? He would probably be killed by Fang Xianxia before he even died at the Yixia's hands. 9 turns of Flying Spirit. Fang Han dodged again, letting several stabbing tridents miss, then unleashed a move from Flying Spirit's soft bone art, suddenly thrusting his sword once more at a Xianxia. "You damned human, you're courting death." This Xianxia stuck out its scarlet tongue, threw away its trident, and actually reached out its palm directly to grab Fang Han's sword light, relying on the scales covering its body to catch the magic sword barehanded. If the magic sword was caught, Fang Han would be in immediate mortal danger. Without a weapon in hand, killing these invulnerable Xianxias would be nearly impossible. Carp breaks the wave. A thought flashed through Fang Han's mind. In that moment of crisis, he softened his bones, ducked low, and slipped past the Xianxia's side, swinging his sword down in the motion, squish, cutting into the Xianxia's ear. Clang! Sparks flew everywhere. Half the Xianxia's ear was cut clean off, a large patch of scales knocked from its skull, blood pouring out. It let out a shrill, miserable scream, like an owl keening at a funeral, cawing raucously. Such hard scales! My demon-slaying sword can cut through gold and jade, and it can only knock off scales. What chance would ordinary mortal iron have? Fang Han landed on the ground and rolled another somersault, rolling out of the circle of enemies. For a time, the 11 Xianxias surrounded Fang Han completely, their steel tridents stabbing non-stop. But Fang Han relied on his agile footwork to leap up and down, sometimes breaking out of the encirclement and darting away, then turning to fight again when the Xianxias gave chase. Squish! 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 One trident after another was sliced clean through by his blade. After more than 10 exchanges, all 11 Xianxias were left holding nothing but bare handles. The scales on the Xianxias were extremely hard, but their tridents were made of mortal iron. How could they compare to the demon-slaying sword of Yuhua sect? Good. After slicing through all the Xianxia's weapons, Fang Han immediately felt the pressure ease greatly. He gathered all his strength and thrust out with his sword multiple times. In an instant, the air was filled with star-like glints of sword light, every Xianxia feeling a sharp blade edge pressing straight toward their eyes. The Xianxias roared and retreated. Fang Han gathered his strength once more, focusing completely. In a trance, he felt all the flesh and blood in his body turn into clusters of intense flame, burning furiously and surging upward into his brain. Instantly, the heavenly gate of his mind was illuminated brightly by the blood essence flame, and his spirit became clearer than ever before. At this moment, it seemed to Fang Han that the crown of his skull had become transparent, like crystal. This Xianxia's explosive strength is around 1,350 jin. Its running speed is 43 steps in the blink of an eye. Its weight is around 350 jin. Suddenly, everything in Fang Han's mind became utterly cleared. The weight, running and jumping speed, striking strength of every single Xianxia was all perfectly clear to him. The moment he looked at a Xianxia, his mind could accurately gauge every detail of its vital force. What was more, before a Xianxia even moved to jump, Fang Han could already sense exactly which direction it would leap to. His entire spirit had abruptly risen to a whole new level. He had stepped into the 9th layer of the mortal body, the spirit channeling realm.